My family kicked me out of the workshop I built to cash in on their Airbnb dreams. As they toasted their empire at Sunday dinner, Mom said, "Some folks just don't think big." I set down my fork and replied, "Funny, my new welding gig's out-earning your rentals." The clink of their glasses stopped dead, and the room went quiet as my words sank in. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you here. Before we get started, let us know where you're from. Leave a comment with your city. Now, let's pick up the story from where we left off. I'm Ethan, 25, and 3 years ago, I turned my parents' crumbling garage into my sanctuary. Fresh out of trade school, I was broke, and rent in our small, overpriced town felt like a pipe dream. Mom and Dad offered me the garage, a sagging, leaky mess stuffed with rusty tools and old Christmas decorations. It wasn't much, but I'm a welder, good with my hands, and I saw something worth saving. We shook on a deal. I'd pay for the fixes myself, cover $300 a month in rent, and stay until I had enough saved to open my own shop. That garage became my world. I sank $20,000, every penny I'd scraped together, into that place. New roof to stop the drips, insulation to keep out the winter chill, concrete floor to replace the cracked dirt. I wired it properly, built a loft for a bed, even added a corner for my welding gear. Nights after work, I'd be out there, hammering away under a single bulb, sawdust in my hair, dreaming of the furniture I'd craft. Weekends, I'd sand boards until my hands ached, picturing my own studio someday. 8 months later, it was a 600-square-foot home, cozy, mine with a hum of possibility. Mom and Dad couldn't stop smiling when I showed them. "Ethan, it's like something out of a magazine," Mom said, running her hand along the workbench I'd built. They'd bring neighbors over, proud as if they'd swung the hammer themselves. For 2 years, I lived there quietly, paying rent on the first, welding for clients, selling a few tables and chairs on the side. Each dollar saved felt like a step closer to my goal. I'd sit in that loft at night, Ember, the stray cat who'd wander in, curled up nearby, and feel content, like I was building something real. I was so close to having enough for my own place, maybe a little shop with my name on the sign. Then, out of nowhere, everything I'd worked for started to slip away. Last Sunday, I was tinkering in my workshop, the smell of fresh-cut wood in the air, when Mom called me up to the house. Her voice had that tight edge, like when she's got something heavy to say. I wiped my hands on my jeans and headed to the kitchen, expecting a quick chat. Instead, I found Dad, my brother Caleb, and my sister Lily sitting around the table, faces set like they'd rehearsed this. Caleb leaned back, arms crossed, and said, "We're turning the garage into a rental unit. Ethan, family needs the income. You've got 30 days to clear out." My stomach dropped. I stood there, grease still under my nails, trying to process it. "What about our deal?" I said, voice quieter than I meant. "I put 20 grand into that place. You said I could stay till I saved enough for my shop." Dad just shrugged, stirring his coffee. "It's our property, son. That work you did? It's worth more to us now as a rental." Caleb gave a half smirk, like he'd won something. "You got a sweet deal living there cheap, didn't you?" I looked at Mom, hoping she'd say something, anything, but she just stared at her hands, twisting her wedding ring. Lily wouldn't meet my eyes either, just tapped her phone screen. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. I'd spent years building that workshop, every weld, every nail was mine, and now they were acting like it was nothing, like I was nothing. "This is my home," I said, throat tight. "You can't just take it. It's for the family's future," Dad said, like that explained everything. Caleb nodded, all business. "Times are tough, Ethan. We need to think bigger." I wanted to yell, to ask why their plans always came first, but the words stuck. I walked out, back to the garage, the door creaking behind me. My tools were still scattered from the day's work, my latest chair half finished on the bench. I sat there, staring at the loft where I'd planned my life, and felt it slipping away. I trusted them, poured everything into that space because they promised it was mine for now. But now, it was like I'd built it for someone else. I picked up a hammer, gripping it hard, not sure if I wanted to fix something or break it. All I knew was I couldn't let them erase what I'd made. Not without a fight. That night I couldn't sleep. The workshop's familiar hum, crickets outside, the faint buzz of my old fridge, felt wrong, like it was already someone else's. I sat on the loft's edge, boots dangling, staring at my workbench where a half-built chair waited. Caleb's smirk kept replaying, and Mom's silence cut deeper than Dad's shrug. By morning, my shock had hardened into something else. Anger, maybe, or just a need to understand why my family thought I didn't matter. At breakfast, I tried talking sense. I found Lily in the kitchen, pouring cereal for her coffee shop shift. "Lily, you know what that workshop means to me?" I said, keeping my voice steady. "Why's it gotta be me who loses everything?" She sighed like I was a kid whining. "Ethan, my boutique's barely breaking even. Caleb's startup needs cash too. Renting the garage helps us all." Her words landed like a slap. Us all didn't include me. I pressed. "But I built it. 20 grand, Lil." She just grabbed her keys. "You'll figure it out. Family's about giving, you know?" Later, Dad was in the yard, raking leaves. I caught him by the shed, hoping he'd hear me out. "Dad, I'm close to my shop savings. Can't we find another way?" He leaned on the rake, eyes tired. "Son, family sacrifices. Caleb and Lily have big plans. You're young, you'll bounce back." Bounce back? I'd poured years into that garage. Every weld a promise they'd made and broken. I walked away, my work boots heavy on the grass, feeling like I was begging for scraps. By evening, the math kept me up. Rent around here runs $1,200 a month. 4 times what I pay now. My savings would vanish in a year. My shop dream further away than ever. I thought of my clients, folks who'd trusted my chairs, my repairs. Losing the workshop wasn't just losing a home. It was losing me. I pictured Caleb's rental unit. Some stranger's car parked where I'd sanded boards till midnight. Mom's ring twisting, Lily's dodge. It all said my work was theirs to take. I wasn't just mad. I felt invisible, like the kid they could push aside because I'd always been the easy one. I grabbed my phone, scrolling names of folks I could crash with, but stopped. This was my fight. I'd built that place with my own hands, trusted their word. Now I had to trust myself. I didn't know how, but I wasn't giving up without a stand. Not yet. A few days after the kitchen showdown, I was sweeping sawdust in the workshop, trying to focus on a client's order, when my phone pinged. A buddy from town, Mike, sent a link to a rental listing. "This your place, Ethan?" My heart sank as I clicked. There it was, my garage, listed online as a cozy studio. But what stopped me cold were the photos. My handcrafted chairs, the oak table I'd spent weeks carving, staged like they came with the place. The listing bragged about custom furnishings included, and Caleb's name was on it. I stormed up to the house, finding Caleb in the driveway, checking his truck's oil. "You're selling my furniture?" I asked, holding up my phone, voice shaking but low. He didn't even look surprised, just wiped his hands on a rag. "It's in the garage, Ethan. Part of the rental now. Looks good, doesn't it?" I clenched my fists, picturing the nights I'd sanded those pieces till my fingers blistered. "Those are mine, Caleb. I built them for my business." He smirked, tossing the rag aside. "You built them in our garage. They stay." I went to Mom and Dad, hoping they'd see how wrong this was. They were in the living room, Mom knitting, Dad flipping through a fishing magazine. "Caleb's stealing my work," I said, laying out the listing. Mom's needles paused, but Dad didn't look up. "It's practical, Ethan. Furniture makes the place rent faster." Mom nodded, eyes on her yarn. "It's for the family, honey." I stood there, my throat tight, like I was a stranger in their house. Those chairs weren't just wood, they were my future, my proof I could make something real. Back in the workshop, I ran my hand over the table, its smooth grain under my palm. Every curve held hours of my life, dreams of a shop with my name out front. Now they'd be some tenant's coffee stand, and I'd get nothing. I felt gutted, not just robbed but erased, like my work only mattered when it served them. I grabbed a notebook, jotting down what I'd spent. $1, $200 in materials alone for those pieces. It wasn't just money. It was trust, broken. I couldn't let this slide. I didn't know how to fight yet, but I knew I had to try. I owed it to every late night, every callus, every hope I'd carved into that wood. The next morning, I was in the workshop, packing tools to keep my hands busy, when my phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Karen. "Ethan, how could you fight your family like this? Your mom's heartbroken." I froze, my wrench halfway to the toolbox. I hadn't told anyone outside the house about the rental plan, but somehow, word was out. By noon, my inbox was flooded, cousins, an old neighbor, even my high school coach, all saying I was selfish, putting money over family. Then I saw a post on our church's prayer group, shared by Lily, Please pray for our family as Ethan's choices hurt us all. I felt like I'd been kicked in the chest. Lily had taken our fight public, twisting it so I looked like the bad guy. I drove to her boutique downtown, the one she said needed the rental cash. She was behind the counter arranging scarves. Lily, why'd you drag the church into this? I asked, keeping my voice even despite the heat in my face. She barely looked up. People need to know you're not the saint you act like, Ethan. You're holding us back. Her words stung. She'd always been the baby sister I'd fixed bikes for, and now she was painting me as a greedy loner. Back home, I sat in the workshop's loft, the air heavy with varnish and betrayal. I thumbed through old texts from Uncle Ray, who'd once said my chairs belonged in a gallery. Now he'd emailed, "Family first, Ethan. Let this go." I wasn't just losing my home. I was losing my place in their world. Growing up, I'd been the dependable one, mowing lawns, helping at reunions, but that didn't matter now. Lily's rumors had turned me into a stranger. I needed a way out. On a whim, I called a lawyer friend from trade school, explaining the $20,000 I'd sunk into the garage. He listened, then said I might have a case. Something about unjust enrichment since I'd improved their property. I spent the afternoon digging up receipts, my hands smudged with dust from old files. By evening, we sent a letter to my parents, asking for $16,000 or another year to stay. Felt like a long shot, but I had to try. As I sealed the envelope, I glanced at my workbench, where a half-carved table leg sat untouched. I wasn't just fighting for money, I was fighting for the part of me they thought they could erase. A week after mailing the lawyer's letter, I was grabbing coffee at the diner, still raw from Lily's church stunt, when my client, Tom, slid into the booth across from me. He'd ordered one of my tables last spring, said it was the centerpiece of his home. "Ethan, you okay?" he asked, frowning. "Heard about the garage. Didn't know your family was in the Airbnb game." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Airbnb?" Tom nodded, pulling up a listing on his phone. "Yeah, your brother's been showing it off. Fancy setup." There it was, my workshop, glowing under professional photos, listed as a luxe retreat for $150 a night. The description raved about handcrafted furnishings and a prime location, promising guests a slice of small-town charm. My chairs, my table, even the loft bed I'd built, they were all there, marketed as perks with Caleb and Lily's names attached. No mention of me, my $20,000, or the years I'd spent making that space mine. Tom kept talking, something about Caleb pitching it as the start of a rental empire, but I barely heard him. It wasn't just a one-off rental. They were planning to cash in big, using my work as their golden ticket. I drove home, hands tight on the wheel, the diner's sugar packet still crumpled in my pocket. In the workshop, I sat on the loft steps, the air thick with betrayal. I'd believed their talk of family needs, Lily's struggling boutique, Caleb's startup dreams. But this was greed, plain and simple. They weren't scraping by. They wanted a lifestyle, and I was the one paying for it. I opened my laptop, found the listing again, and scrolled through guest reviews already trickling in. "Stunning craftsmanship," one said. "My craftsmanship stolen and sold." I called my lawyer, voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "They're turning it into an Airbnb empire," I told him, forwarding the link. He sighed. "This changes the context, Ethan. It's not about need, it's profit." He promised to update our demand, but warned negotiations could get messy. I hung up, staring at my workbench, where a half-finished shelf gathered dust. I thought of Mom's knitting, Dad's fishing magazines, how they'd backed the scheme without a blink. I'd grown up fixing their fence, hauling their groceries, thinking that's what family did. Now I saw it clear, my role was to give, not to have. I walked outside, the evening cool, and leaned against the garage door. A neighbor's dog barked, same as always, but nothing felt the same. I wasn't just losing a place, I was losing the idea of us. I'd built that workshop to prove I could make something lasting, but they'd turned it into a quick buck. I kicked a pebble, watching it skitter across the drive. The fight wasn't over, but it was bigger now. I wasn't just saving my savings, I was saving myself, the part they thought they could trade away for a better view. 2 days after uncovering the Airbnb plan, I came home from a welding job, my truck still dusty from the site, to find a new padlock on the workshop door. My key didn't fit. I stood there, toolbox in hand, staring at the shiny metal glinting in the dusk. A note taped to the window read, "Tenant viewing tomorrow. Stay out. Dad." My pulse pounded. I'd built that place, every beam, every outlet, and now they'd shut me out like I was a trespasser. I banged on the house door, finding Mom in the kitchen, chopping carrots for stew. "You locked me out?" I asked, voice low but shaking. She kept her eyes on the cutting board. "It's just for a day, Ethan. We need to show the place." I leaned against the counter, the smell of onions sharp. "My tools are in there, Mom. My projects. You didn't even ask." Dad walked in, drying his hands. "It's our property," he snapped. "We're moving forward. You got your letter, didn't you?" I felt the air go thin, like I couldn't breathe right. "You know what this means to me?" I said, looking between them. Mom's knife slowed, but she didn't answer. Dad just pointed to the door. "Don't make this harder, son." I left, my boots loud on the porch, and circled back to the workshop. Through the window, I saw my table, my chairs, staged for strangers. My welding torch sat on the bench, cables tangled, like someone had rummaged through it. They hadn't just locked me out, they'd let people paw through my life. I climbed into my truck, gripping the wheel till my knuckles whitened. Growing up, I'd hauled firewood for Dad, stayed up late helping Mom with her garden books. I thought that's what made us family, showing up, no questions. Now, I was just the guy who'd fixed their garage for free, disposable once it turned a profit. I drove to the gas station, bought a soda, and sat in the parking lot, the cold can sweating in my hand. My phone lit up. Another text from a cousin, calling me out for tearing the family apart. I didn't reply. Back at the workshop, I used my spare key to the side gate, slipping in to grab my torch and a box of tools. The loft smelled like sawdust and my old sweatshirts, but it wasn't mine anymore. I carried what I could, my arms full, and locked the gate behind me. In my truck, I thought of the lawyer's call yesterday. He'd warned my parents might dig in. I didn't care about winning anymore. I just wanted something back, some piece of what I'd given. I'd spent years believing family meant carrying each other's weight. Now, I saw they'd only carried mine when it suited them. I started the engine, the dashboard clock glowing. I had to keep going, not for them, but for the part of me they couldn't touch, the part that still knew how to build something from nothing. The morning after the lockout, I woke up in my truck, neck stiff from sleeping in the cab, my tools rattling in the back. I parked down the street, too raw to face the house. My lawyer called while I was brushing my teeth with a bottle of gas station water. "They're offering $13,500, he said, voice calm but firm. "It's not the full 20 grand, but it's solid. They want this done." I stared at the dashboard, my breath fogging the windshield. It wasn't enough, not for every nail I'd driven, but it was a way out. "Take it," I told him, my voice flat. By noon, the papers were signed, the money wired. I expected relief, but all I felt was hollow. I drove to the coffee shop, ordered a black coffee, and sat by the window, watching folks head to work. Caleb had texted overnight. "A new jab. Heard you're trying to bleed us dry. Real classy, Ethan." I didn't answer, but later, I learned he'd told our cousins I was suing to ruin Mom and Dad. My phone buzzed with their messages. "Ungrateful. Think of your parents." Each one a fresh cut. I'd been the guy who'd fix their cars, share my tools, but now I was the enemy. All because I'd asked for what was mine. I couldn't stay. The workshop wasn't home anymore, just a shell of someone else's scheme. I spent the afternoon online, hunting for apartments, my laptop balanced on the truck's tailgate. A listing popped up. A small one-bedroom in a city 2 hours west, cheaper than here, $800 a month. Then, a voicemail from a welding firm I'd applied to weeks back, offering a job with better pay, steady hours. My heart jumped, a flicker of something like hope. The settlement covered a deposit, maybe a used couch. I called back, accepted, my voice steadier than I felt. By evening, I was packing what little I could carry. Clothes, my best chisels, a photo of me and Lily from when we were kids, grinning by the lake. I left the workshop's key on the kitchen counter, no note. Mom was at the sink rinsing dishes, but she didn't look up. "I'm going," I said, pausing by the door. She nodded, hands still moving. I wanted her to say something. Sorry, stay, anything. But the silence said enough. I walked out, the screen door creaking, and drove west, the highway stretching dark and quiet. In the city, I found the apartment, a plain box with creaky floors, but it was mine. I stood in the empty room, the settlement check in my wallet, and felt a weight lift, just a little. I wasn't free yet. Not from the hurt, not from their lies, but I was starting. I'd been their fixer, their quiet son, but now I had to fix myself. For the first time, I believed I could build something new, something they couldn't touch, something that held my name alone. 6 months later, I'm settled in my new city, and the workshop fight feels like a faded blueprint. My one-bedroom apartment's nothing fancy. Scuffed walls, a wobbly kitchen table. But it's mine, no strings attached. I adopted a stray cat, Ember, who naps on my windowsill, her purrs filling the quiet. The $13,500 settlement, plus my savings, gave me enough to start over. I'm welding at a firm that respects my work, even got a raise last month. I bought a beat-up truck for hauling projects and started freelancing again. Small shelves, custom gates. I'm pre-approved for a condo, a real home, faster than I ever thought possible back in that garage. My family's plans unraveled quick. Caleb and Lily's Airbnb crashed. Tenants wrecked the workshop, splintered my chairs, trashed my table. They're stuck fixing leaks and drywall, bickering over bills. Mom and Dad argue too, cramped in their own house now that the rental's a money pit. Lily texted once, asking how to patch a weld in their space. I let it sit unanswered, my thumb hovering over the screen. We're down to stiff holiday calls, quick visits where nobody mentions the past. Uncle Ray called last week, voice soft, saying he was wrong to judge me. Most relatives still buy Caleb's story, but I don't correct them anymore. I've made my peace or something close. This city's been good to me. I've got buddies now, guys from work, a neighbor who trades me beers for fixing his porch. My welding's better than ever, each spark a reminder I'm still building. I drive past condos on weekends, picturing a place with my name on the deed. Losing the workshop hurt. Every board I'd cut, every late night, but it pushed me here. I used to think family meant giving till it broke you. I'd carry their loads, fix their messes, believing that's what love looked like. Life's truest forge is inside you. Family isn't just who you're born to, it's who sees your spark and doesn't dim it. I thought sacrifice was loyalty, but it's not when it's one-sided. Mom's silence, Caleb's smirk, Lily's rumors. They burned me, but the heat shaped me stronger. I'm not just crafting shelves or saving for a condo. I'm building a life that's mine, root deep, unshakable. Love means standing tall for yourself too, and that's the frame I'm welding now, one nobody can dismantle. Thank you for spending your time with this story. It truly means a lot. Every family drama hides a quiet pain, a silent cry, or a feeling no one talks about. If this story made you feel anything, anger, sadness, or even comfort, drop a comment below. You might be putting into words what someone else has always felt but never said.